Oh, thank you for calling. Thank you for coming to the TechSat video. I'm here to try to train on PCI DSS, and I'm going through the 12 requirements. I'm going to start with 1 through 6 first, explain them, and then I'm also. But at this video that you're about to watch it, that explains what a DMZ zone is, because there's been some questions about that, and hopefully my explanation about a DMZ will simplify things. All right, thanks for tuning in and have a good time watching the video. This is the DMZ architect network. So how does this work? Well, you got your enterprise, which is your internal network, and then you've got your internet, which is your outsource network. Now, between the two firewalls, which is this is technically one firewall, and I'll get to that in a second. So from the internet, you have to go through the firewall. Through the firewall, you have access to the web server. Let's say you go to Amazon.com. When you access Amazon.com, what you're actually doing, you're entering their DMZ zone. DMZ does stand for Demilitarized Military Zone, but don't worry about that. You also got the mail servers, and of course the router. So the mail server means, like, let's say you're trying to IM somebody within the application that's on this web server, and you're an external customer, and you're like, yeah, I need help with this product. Could you give me some more explanation for it? And then they'll respond to you. Now that DMZ zone is separated by a router or a firewall to the internal network. That way, outside customers like me or you going to Amazon.com cannot access the internal network. Now, here's the flat view of it, another picture I found. From the internet, it goes through. This is why I said that firewall, even though it looked like two firewalls on the last picture, it was just showing you how it's segmented. So you go to the firewall. From that firewall, you're like, okay, are you a customer trying to get to the website? Go this route. And then you got your Amazon.com. From Amazon, it pulls from the FTP. What that means is just file transfer protocol, so it transfers files. Most dynamic websites will have an FTP in place and stuff like that, but you don't have to worry about that. Just think about accessing resources like Amazon.com as an external customer, but you don't have access to the internal LAN network, which is also protected by that firewall. Now, let's say this is on port 1 and this is on port 2. You have access to port 2, but not port 1, which is where the explanation of restricting incoming and outgoing ports is where that comes in on the router. It's where how that works. Now, what I'm going to do is get into some drawing time. Hopefully this will help clear things up as well. So let me get to my pen out here, for example, and let's say this is the cloud, right? This is you, or actually this is Mr. Happy Person with spiky hair, and you want to buy a Nintendo DSS, whatever. You access the internet. It routes you to, let's say, Amazon or McDonald's. That's kind of interesting. I'll just put an A for Amazon, makes it easier. Alright, so you're trying to get to Amazon and you want to buy this Nintendo. Now, and you're like, okay, cool. So the internet will route you to Amazon. Amazon will have a router or switch. Well, firewall. I'm trying to keep it simple. So you have your brick. You have your firewall. From your firewall, you're like, okay, you want to try to get into Nintendo. So we're going to negate you to the DMZ zone. From the DMZ, you can browse all the internet, any products that you want. You can browse all the products that we have. We even have towels, Pinocchio, whatever. And then from there, let's say, however, you got another guy or person wearing a cowboy hat, and he works for Amazon, but he's trying to VPN into his network at Amazon. So he connects through VPN, which he connects. Actually, it's the opposite direction. Whee! Okay. He connects to the cloud, and then from the cloud, you got your VPN service. So you got your VPN. You know what? I don't even know if it's on this side or this side, but who cares? It's like VPN, and from VPN, it connects you to the Amazon area. It goes through the firewall, but this time the firewall is like, okay, I see that you're connecting through VPN. VPN is allowed and is allowed into the internal network, but and internal network. So he can get his little job done, jobs or whatever his job is at Amazon. Now the firewall will determine, okay, VPN, go this route, regular customer IP, go this route to the site. So they don't have access to the internal site, but through a VPN, an employee can have access to this. Now, through the VPN, you go on the internal website and you have to log in, and it verifies you, it authenticates you. That's where that authentication comes into play, because it wants to make sure you're authenticated. Now, as for that PCI, let's say you got that card, that CDE environment. Each cloud is an environment. This cloud is your ISP, basically, and this is also an ISP, because it directs you to wherever you need to go. Amazon, eBay, or whatever. Now back to the CDE. Now what the thing is talking about when it comes to those restrictions, the requirements, is they do not want you to connect this DMZ to the CDE. It's a big no-no. Why is that? Well, this guy can be a hacker. This one right here with spiky hair can be a hacker, and he's trying to get the CDE. He knows he'll have a hard time going this route to the internal, so he'll go to the DMZ zone instead and go to the CDE. That's why you don't want any connection whatsoever to the DMZ to the CDE. Now, from the internal network, you can have it. Now, there's different ways to do this. You can have this router connected to the CDE because it filters traffic. When you filter traffic, let's say you have, I don't know, 192.168.3.4. 4 through 5 has access through to CDE. I'm just saying for an example. That's not that they have different IP addresses, of course, but IP access that ends with .6 through 10 could go here, and then everything else goes to the internal network. So by hardening. That's what they call hardening, because you're subtracting access and restricting access to systems. Another, which is listed under hardening. Now, you technically don't want your internal directly connected to your CDE as well, because what if this guy is a hacker? Well, he may get to the internal site through the firewall, because the firewall has very, very high standards for CDE connectivity, right? So you definitely don't want this. Now, however, because you don't want them going to the internal website and then getting access to CDE, so you create another firewall. My firewalls are so awesome. And then you go here, and then you connect. That's correct, and this is correct, and that's correct. The DMZ is on its own little cloud. This network is separated from this network. Can I change the color? That'd be cool. Okay, so you can call this network 1. Then you can call this network 2. And you can call this net. Wow, I've never seen a network start with a W. Don't worry. Network 3. I don't have enough space, so I'm just gonna do that thing. So, so this is that's correct, that's correct, and that's correct. The reason being is they're all three different networks. They're all separated from each other. How? Through routers. You got router 1 or router, and then this router. So you got those two routers. You do not want the clouds to be connected to each cloud physically. You want it to be connected to each connection to the CDE must be connected to a router. So this one is really good. That's a good router. And this one's a really good connection as well. That's the one I was missing. I knew I was missing one. Does that help with explaining what DMZ is? So if we go back to the I hate to erase that. That's actually nice drawings. What am I going to save it on? I don't know. If we go back to the drawing, or the... Dang it, I have to go back. There you go. Go back to this picture, is what I meant. You could tell from what I stated how I drew it out. Hopefully this makes a whole lot more sense. You got your DMZ, you got your Amazon website. You can go there if you're an employee, but pretend like there's a PCI cloud, CDE cloud right here. That would also be connected to this firewall. This firewall separates users based on traffic. So either type of traffic, web base, or IP base, or port base. But those are beyond the scope of this thing. But basically you're filtering out. External customers go to the DMZ zone, to the website, so they can do their shopping. Employees that are VPN will go to through the firewall and into the internal network. And you don't want the internal network, the internet, or the DMZ directly connected to the CDE, which is the cardholder data environment, unless it's going through a firewall. Hope that helped. And thank you very much for watching the video, and hopefully you have this explained a lot for you. Have a great day. Oh, yeah.